What if I told you Apple wasn't always destined for greatness? In fact, it was almost drowned by its own mistakes, until a series of game-changing moves turned it into the trillion-dollar empire we know today. Curious about how a company that almost went bankrupt became one of the world's most valuable? Stick around, this is the untold story of Apple's rise to unthinkable success. Chapter 1, From Near Death to Trillion-Dollar Titan. In 1997, Apple was teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. The company had lost its way, making products that nobody really wanted. Their products were bulky, outdated, and uninspiring. In fact, Apple was losing market share to competitors like Microsoft and Dell, and it seemed like their time had passed. But in a dramatic twist of fate, Apple invited its co-founder, Steve Jobs, back to the company. Jobs did what he does best. He ruthlessly simplified Apple's product line, killing off almost 70% of their existing products. This radical simplification set the stage for a revolution in personal technology. Jobs' first priority was focus. Apple stopped trying to compete in every market and instead decided to dominate a few key areas. The company's shift to a laser-focused product strategy, including the famous iMac, laid the groundwork for its future success. But it wasn't just about product design. Jobs introduced a new way of thinking about technology as something that could be personal, not just functional. This was a pivotal moment. And it wasn't long before Apple began to rise again, but not without some intense moments of struggle. By August 2018, Apple became the first US company to hit a $1 trillion market cap. But what happened next was even more extraordinary. Apple wasn't just playing catch-up. They were about to accelerate into a whole new league of tech giants. How did they do it? Let's break it down. Chapter 2, The Trillion Club Sprint. Apple didn't stop at $1 trillion. It was like watching a car rev its engine and then take off. Within just 2 years, by August 2020, Apple crossed the $2 trillion mark. But hold on, just a year later, they hit the $3 trillion milestone. 2025 to 2026 saw Apple's market value surpass $4 trillion, with projections that could take it even higher in the near future. It wasn't just about innovation anymore. Apple had mastered market psychology. They built a brand people felt emotionally connected to. From the outside, it might have looked like Apple had perfected a formula for success, but the truth is, Apple had built a cult-like following that was not just about the products but about an experience that couldn't be easily replicated. So, what was behind this remarkable growth? Was it just one product? Or was it something more? Chapter 3, The iPhone, the Rocket Booster. Enter the iPhone, Apple's game changer. Launched in 2007, it wasn't just a phone, it was a revolution. But here's the kicker, the iPhone wasn't the only reason Apple became a trillion-dollar company. Sure, the iPhone changed everything. It had a sleek design, a touch interface, and a software ecosystem that no one had ever seen before. But here's where Apple went above and beyond. Instead of treating the iPhone as just another device, Apple used it as the hub to build an entire ecosystem. The iPhone became the centerpiece of Apple's broader strategy, feeding into their software, services, wearables, and even retail experiences. This ecosystem, with its seamless integration of hardware and software, meant that once you were in, you were likely to stay. Why? Because switching to another platform meant losing out on all the services and convenience that came with Apple's ecosystem. And it wasn't just about the iPhone itself. Apple used the iPhone to launch a range of services that now generate billions in revenue. From the App Store to iCloud, Apple Music, and Apple Pay, these services began to produce recurring revenue, which made Apple's valuation soar. The genius behind this strategy was Apple's ability to transform one product into a gateway for everything from entertainment to communication, fitness to finance. Chapter 4, Vertical Integration, the Invisible Superpower. Apple's secret weapon, often overlooked, is its vertical integration. Unlike other tech giants, Apple didn't rely on third parties to manufacture or create its products. Apple controls the hardware, the software, the retail, and even the customer service experience. This level of control is what allows Apple to offer a consistent and high-quality user experience across every device. Every part of the Apple ecosystem is finely tuned to work seamlessly together, creating that premium feel that customers are willing to pay a premium for. Chapter 5: Leadership that outlasts icons. One of the most significant factors in Apple's success has been leadership. When Steve Jobs passed away in 2011, many believed that Apple's best days were behind it. Jobs was the heart and soul of the company, and his absence left a massive leadership vacuum. But Tim Cook, Jobs' successor, didn't just step into his shoes, he expanded on what Jobs had started. Cook didn't have Jobs' iconic charisma, but he was a strategic mastermind in his own right. Cook's expertise in supply chain management helped Apple scale in ways no one could have imagined. Under his leadership, Apple was able to expand its product offerings, streamline its operations, and reach customers all around the world. Cook also made some crucial decisions to diversify Apple's revenue streams. Instead of focusing exclusively on hardware, Cook made significant investments in services, ensuring that Apple didn't just rely on iPhone sales alone. But the leadership story at Apple isn't all about Cook. The company's ability to pivot, innovate, and adapt to changing market conditions came down to a culture that Jobs had nurtured and Cook had strengthened. Apple's culture of innovation, design excellence, and attention to detail remains at the core of its success. Chapter 6: Weaknesses you didn't hear about. While Apple's rise to a trillion-dollar company has been impressive, no success story is without its cracks. One of Apple's main challenges is its reliance on hardware sales. While services have become a substantial part of their revenue, Apple still makes a huge portion of its income from selling iPhones. And with the smartphone market beginning to saturate, Apple's reliance on hardware could pose risks to its future growth. Additionally, Apple has faced increased competition in areas like AI and semiconductors. Companies like Google and Nvidia have surged ahead in AI technology, leaving Apple to play catch-up. Despite these setbacks, Apple's ability to innovate within its ecosystem means it's far from irrelevant, but the competition is heating up. Chapter 7: Why Apple Still Matters in 2026. Despite these challenges, Apple's future looks bright. The company has adapted to the demands of the modern tech landscape, and its expansion into AI, augmented reality, AR, and potentially autonomous vehicles shows that Apple is preparing for the next big thing. With its consistent ability to innovate, Apple is not just reacting to trends, it's setting them. In fact, Apple's entry into the autonomous car market, if successful, could be as game-changing as the iPhone. Apple's deep pockets, brand loyalty, and technological expertise position it well to compete in this new frontier. The company's track record of game-changing innovations, from the iPod to the iPhone, suggests that Apple's take on autonomous vehicles could redefine the way we interact with transportation. As the world becomes more connected, Apple continues to evolve from a consumer tech company to a company that touches almost every part of modern life. From our smartphones to our homes, cars, and even health, Apple is setting the stage for the next wave of technology integration. So, here's the million-dollar question: is Apple's trillion-dollar legacy driven by its products, or is it the psychological lock-in of its ecosystem that keeps people coming back for more? Because Apple didn't just create gadgets, it created an experience people are willing to pay a premium for. Now that you've seen the untold story of Apple's rise, you might be asking, can any company replicate Apple's success? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more deep dives into the strategies that turn ordinary companies into global empires.